Should be topic number 4 is, if this is real, then how were colonizers successful in Africa? If this is real, then how were colonizers successful in Africa? This came with a link, of course. This takes us to YouTube. We'll check out the video, and then we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
No be easy. This African soldier say chop medicine, no bullet go fit kill him. Nothing. 9mm AK Kafungbe. Bring everything. Charlie, these things be real. Say, Charlie, medicine day where somebody go chop way. Bullet no go fit kill him. Hey.
That's man like Mike.
Anything you need to confirm more?
No.
So why people they die for war?
Confirm it?
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Charlie, I wonder what will happen if he experiment with a grenade or a rocket launcher. Or I dare him to experiment with a bomb. By the way, it's your boy, the Righteous Messenger. I beg, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Peace.
Yeah.
Charlie, no be easy. This African soldier say chop medicine, no bullet go fit kill him. Nothing. 9mm AK Kafungbe. Bring everything. Charlie, these things be real. Say, Charlie, medicine day where somebody go chop way. Bullet no go fit kill him. Hey.
That's man like Mike.
Anything you need to confirm more?
No.
So why people they die for war?
Confirm it?
Confirmed.
Charlie, I wonder what will happen if he experiment with a grenade or a rocket launcher. Or I dare him to experiment with a bomb. By the way, it's your boy, the Righteous Messenger. I beg, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Peace.
Is that guy Ghanaian? I'm curious if that guy is Ghanaian or not. Should be topic number 4. If this is real, then how were colonizers successful in Africa? I see people are debating if it's real or fake in the chat. I saw Real Black Gentleman say it's real. RBG, what say you to this?
Oh, when dude, I think that was Ugandan. Yeah, I've seen this years ago, dude. Like, I think that's real. I mean, look. Sometimes people are built that way, man. I'm just saying, like, it depends on the caliber. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, look, you're built like, look. I'm not saying it's impossible. Look. Sometimes people built that way. Sometimes people built that way. That's all I'm gonna say. Look, I don't think that's fake at all. It might be a low caliber bullet, but look. He braced himself. He knew what he was doing. He probably been practicing that since his young muscles was mega tender. I'm just saying, like, look. People have the little talents and can or have the human body can withstand amazing stresses. You know what I'm saying? If you put your mind to it, you know what I'm saying? Hydrodynamics, you know what I'm saying? You get your blood tight enough, you know what I'm saying? You get a lot of, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Look, I don't think it's fake. You know what I'm saying? I just think it might be like a weak caliber bullet, but yeah, he stopped that with his cheek. I believe that shit. Now if that was real, again, it was just African people just not realizing the geospatialness of the threat and the circumstances, not knowing where they were coming from, and kind of like again, just like rallying everyone together. Like again, colonialism was uneven. It was not even in all places. Some places like the Congo, it seemed like it was very, very successful. I mean, they had a church run in, and I mean, it seemed like the Portuguese was just straight running up and snatching people's coal. Whereas in other places, even closer in West Africa, the people are still fighting, still fighting. I mean, there's always places where they did not give up. They recognize like none of this trade of people or any of this, none of this, and they weren't having it. You know, maybe they had to run away, and you have to always put texture to the story of the colonialism. I mean, there's always places where people always was fighting a little bit harder. I always say that. You know what I'm saying? I just you can't just say, well, you know, people just sold themselves. If someone says that to you, I need you to tell me who, when, where, when, and why. No, just don't say people. Who? Since you know so much, who sold my people when? Because when you say that, it's insulting. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I'm. You know what I'm saying? Like how? I mean, the colonizers. I mean, it's just the church for starters. I mean, the church, and I mean, as far as Islam, I mean that aggressive, you know, proselytization style. I mean, the only thing stopping them is, you know what I'm saying, basically the desert. But like, it's just, you know what I'm saying, like African peoples just have to realize, like, you know, get our geopolitical wits about ourselves, understanding our place in between the two oceans and the Mediterranean, and see where everyone's is. That's just, if you're an African, like some nationalism is a good template to have in your heart, but you might have to rip that off for a greater geographical sensibility. You know what I'm saying? And whether it be regionalism or the whole Africa, you know, you have to have a greater sense of like who you are as a people relative. You have to like squash all the really residual like conflicts. That's the only way you're gonna succeed. You look at the other places around the world where you can have your invader or colonizers. You got to study world history. You got to study everyone's history. You know what I'm saying? Study the colonizer. See how he fucked up. That, you know what I'm saying? See where you know what I'm saying, tripped up. Study everything. You know what I'm saying? Study everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm a yield.
I appreciate that, real black gentleman. You know, side note, Buano will know what I'm talking about, but there's this thing that we say, and mostly it's the women who say it, but they say child. Like we spell it Chile, child. And you know, every time I hear the Ghanaians say Chale, I think that there's a relationship between the use of that Chale and child that you'll hear mostly Bahamian women say like child, please. There was this football player named Chad Johnson, who I believe has some Bahamian roots. He used to say that a lot when he was playing, child, please. And I thought that was interesting. So if you guys ever come across anything that links that saying to some of the things the Gullah Geechee or Bahamians would say, just hit me up and let me know. Let me go next to Tanzan. Tanzan, if this is real, what we just saw, how come colonizers were successful in Africa?
Well, first, as we mostly have concluded, it's probably not real, but it's funny. This guy is having a great laugh at it, so I share in his frivolity. But yeah, it's one thing to believe that you can go out and do it. It's a neat trick, though. It's a clever one. I would, you know, put it up there, show the children or some gullible people, and it's a good trick. I wouldn't do it. Whether it's a trick or not, the way he does it is pretty masterful. So I laugh at the fakeness, but I'll give him, you know, some points for making it look sort of real. But no, you know, the reasons for colonizations was not because we couldn't take a bullet to the head, you know. That would have been nice, but no, there was a Majimaji rebellion, which was similar to, you know, to an idea that, you know, you could go out there and rush out to war, and somehow your bravery would win, which to some extent it does. You know, of course, you need morale, but you have to also be, you know, weigh the risks and their probabilities and so on. So no, of course they're not going to try to experiment with grenades and tanks and stuff to see what they can do. But it's a neat trick. I'll give them that. So yeah, we were and it's not just us. Sometimes we seem to think that we were either worse than other people or better than them. We have unique circumstances. I think it would do us some good to also study the Indian conquest, because they also faced similar things. They were tribes. They were faced by a different power coming to their land, and obviously they fared much worse than us, because we at least still live in our own land, for majority of the numbers. But in any case, when people come there, there's various strategies for resisting that, the power over you. So some people may take to this fantastic means or comedy, or just denial or things like that. It's inspirational to some extent, but it's more complicated than just, we were physically just beaten with guns. It was more to do with also how we understood the encroaching threat. But I'll leave it at that. Yes.
Thank you for that time. Trigger Happy 262 responded to what I said earlier. He said chale is a Ga word meaning friend. Child, I think, just means child. But that type of expression exists, just not in direct translation. Here's the thing, Trigger. When it is said in my hometown, it actually is said in terms of friend. So child, yeah, in general, in the Caribbean, you'll hear child, and it refers to child, sure. But when it's said like child, please, that is usually said between friends, particularly women who are friends. Child, please. That's a friend. So you actually kind of making my point, because it does mean, and Buana is here. He could tell me if I'm going off on a tangent, but it actually means that where I come from. It means friend, please. Right? A lot of things going on in the chat. A funny thing was said here by Jose. He said everything is wrong about the question. Post a vid with an African cooking and asks, why is there famine on the continent? I thought that was funny. With that said, let's go to Carl. Carl Ezekiel, what say you to this?
I don't believe this. This I think it's smoke and mirrors, optical illusion. I don't believe this for a second. Yeah, I don't. He could be shooting blanks. Who knows? Yeah, I don't believe that this is real. As far as and I don't know, maybe they're just joking around, but to shoot a bullet in your mouth, like, yeah, again, I don't believe this is real. I think it's nonsense. Uh, as far as the question as to why African people couldn't do this, or why could they colonize? First of all, I don't think it's real, but I think that I don't know if anybody's familiar with the ghost dance. It was something that the Native Americans on the Great Plains, the Lakota, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, uh, around the late 19th century, uh, they had been confined in reservations. They had been restricted. The buffalo had been killed off. So there was a new religious movement among the Plains Indians called the Ghost Dance. That basically they believed they danced and they prayed to their gods. The white men would disappear, all their buffalo would come back, everybody they lost would return. So they donned these magical shirts, which were supposed to protect them from the white man's bullets. So it didn't protect them from the white man's bullets. Spoiler alert. Um, it led to the massacre at Wounded Knee. But I kind of see this similar, like you got these magical weapons that's going to protect us from bullets, and it's not going to work. So yeah, I don't believe this is real. I think it's probably a blank. Who knows? But I'm really doubting the reality of the situation. It's funny to look at. It makes you ask questions, but yeah, I don't believe it. I'm a skeptical by nature.
That's just me.
I feel you on that, Carl. Let's hear from the brother Oni. Oni would say,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously not real, but I want to say it really depends. Like Gas was saying, he said if a person is not cursed, then it should work, right? So therefore, I think it's behooves Gas to prove to us that he's not cursed, and to just put a gun to his mouth and pull the trigger. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because he's not cursed, obviously. I mean, he said it doesn't work for people who are like, it only works for people who are not cursed. So let's see if that's what it is. Either way, yeah, it wouldn't work for the rest of us, obviously. Probably only Gas, but not for the rest of us. When I first saw this, though, I think somebody did say it was something about blank bullets and all that kind of stuff. Plus, like, obviously, you could do like some mathematical equation to find out what's the velocity, the momentum of the bullet exiting. You could obviously modify a gun to minimize its velocity, or even make the gunshot that much more loud, if you will. But hold on a second. I think somebody said suicide. That's not suicide. You're not cursed. Did this guy commit suicide? No. But anyway, and besides, I have nothing against suicide. I mean, some people should die. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck. But what I'm saying is that, like, you could obviously do some stuff. You could also do some digital, some digital manipulation. Although I don't think this is a digital manipulation. But there's all sorts of ways. Oh, no, of course, obviously, you could also use some things to harden the surface of your mouth. So it's not to say that it's impossible, it's kind of like, I think somebody was showing me some magic tricks, and some of them shit's just crazy. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But like, you can do things like that. One of the things about Westernism, really, or not Westernism, sorry. One of the things about magic tricks, it's kind of subverting reality. So what happens is that you don't know the effectiveness of this gun prior. What you do is you think you know the effectiveness of this gun, right? And because you think you know the effectiveness of the gun, a person can grab it could be like a toy gun, right? The person could grab a toy gun and put it to their mouth and use it, and then be like, well, look at that. It was completely effective, right? It was completely effective. But again, you did not see how effective this weapon was in reality, so you don't know. And again, there's all sorts of preparation that can happen. So again, it's realistically, I don't know. But again, I could be wrong. It could be that people who are not cursed, so on and so forth. So I encourage Gas to upload the video of himself shooting himself in the mouth. I encourage him. I would enjoy it.
Let's leave that. So for me, Oni, was you finished?
Oh yeah, man. Of course.
Okay, yeah. So for me, this
wait,
goes a bit.
Buana. Just indulge me for a second. First of all, this guy who's the host of the show, he looks like people in my family, people I grew up with, right? But that thing I was talking about with Child and Chalet, what are your thoughts on that real quick?
No, I think that there is some connection. I think the both of y'all are right. I think the both of y'all are right, to be honest with you. I think that we get that term, but that term could possibly have a greater meaning because, like you say, child does mean friend. And when we say we because we learn English language, as of course, but you have to remember there are Africans that came from all over West Africa. We're all over West Africa. So some of the meanings that we probably would have taken on may have other meanings in different areas and different spots. See, we believe that we've been completely de-Africanified or whatever, if for lack of a better word. And I don't think that's actually occurred. I think that there are some vestiges that we keep, and it sounds familiar in the English language parlance, but in all actuality, where we would have gotten the terms from could possibly been from West Africa. It's just that we don't speak the language of the Ga, so we wouldn't necessarily make that kind of connection. Where in fact, Ga people probably came to this part of the world and used that term frequently. So now the challenge becomes, did we get that really from the English, or did we get that really from the Ga people who actually came to the Bahamas and have created families here, and we kept that term? So we don't really know that the beginnings of where we actually gotten our word from is actually very debatable. Because you get a bunch of Ga people in the West from Africa coming here and in the Americas or whatever, and made that term very popular. And you get the English meaning and definition, and that term has to do in relation to a young child. But where we say it is reference to a grown adult, we reference that to anyone. You know what I mean? Child, anyone we familiar with. So it's just very debatable, because there's as you know, our history has been interrupted. So we can't really, the beginnings of where we would have probably gotten that term from could be a myriad of different places. Like you say, like the brother said, the Ga people, and we could have very well gotten it from the English and created our own twist in it to sound a little bit different. So that's the challenge, because like I say, our history has been interrupted. So that's my takeaways from that particular thing. But in terms of this video has a greater meaning for me, because we had a discussion last week in terms of African spirituality, if you all remember. And I had this discussion with my brother Erzuli, and he was suggesting that, you know, if you had whatever go through whatever African spiritual ritual, that you could possibly be impervious to bullets. So I just really wanted to show what this actually looks like. And it seems that for the most part, people who actually look at this particular video, we have a degree of skepticism to it. Even the pro spiritualist, African spiritualist police on the panel have skepticism in terms of what they would have seen. Because the truth is, the Maxim gun, when it was brought to Africa, it changed the state of affairs of Africa as we know it. Maxim gun. Okay? Now, all the brothers on this panel go to gun range. I assume it. They shot, at least all of them shot a gun before. And they know the power of a gun. And if you was to put that into a man's mouth, even an AK-47, and pull the trigger, all the brothers on this panel who pull a real trigger before know what the effect of that would be. So now I'm asking all the spiritualists who was refuting me last week and saying that, oh, well, all we need to do is to go through this ritual and it'll cause us to be impervious to bullets. Are you all suggesting to me that because the guys who died in wars, what they would have fought, because the things like the Maxim gun would have changed the state of affairs, if they was endowed with this spiritual system or spirituality, that they would have been impervious to bullets? I'm asking, well, why was it possible for the colonizers to dominate Africa? Because the reality is, might makes right. Spares do not defeat bullets. So I'm asking, if you all telling me that this is a source of power and strength, why wasn't these guys able to conquer or defeat the armies of Europe coming into Africa? Since this is possible, this is what y'all telling me. Because y'all call us atheists and all manner of different names, because we don't buy into this kind of stuff. Y'all call us all manner of names. So I want y'all to justify this argument which y'all was forwarding to me last week, since y'all say one conquers over the other. And in practical terms, you know what I mean? So this is the question I put out there for the African spiritualist beliefs, because you all suggest to us, because we don't have a foundation, we should have no say-so. So I want you all to justify the argument on what you are seeing here on video, because you all calling it fake now. But needless to say, I'll leave it there.
Anybody else want to add any last comments here? All right, let's go shoot a brief topic number 5.
Well, let me just say this, actually. Let me just say this. It's kind of random. Like I said, the quasi, I didn't type it yet, but the quasi spiritualists talk about curses and how this wouldn't affect them, then say it'd be suicidal if they did it. You know, it's like, this is why I talk about and I'm doing this for the wider audience to like pay attention to what people are saying. Like, do they believe the things that they're telling you? And if they don't believe the things they're telling you, why are they telling you this stuff? You know what I mean? Because if you really believe, hey, you know what? If I have my spiritual faith, blah, 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 right, would protect me, right? Then how would you also say that it would be a fatal blow? If you literally just said that. But it's like, then you have to question, why would you say that to begin with? Kind of like what Bonner was just saying. Like, why are people talking about, like, why are these people who do not really believe in what they're talking about demand to be heard when they talk about it? When you say, look, I'll just like, okay, what you're saying is nonsense. We know the velocity of a bullet. We know the momentum. We know these kind of things. And they're like, no, it's just, my spiritualism. Then you say, why don't you go try it? They're like, oh, no, I don't want to die. So then what's the point of, like, what are you trying to say then? One of the attitudes that I found inside of these black circles is a lot of people have this holier than thou attitude, more spiritual than thou attitude. Okay, prove it. If your spirituality can stop bullets from your mouth, then show us how it's fucking done. But otherwise, and then you tell them, go show us how it's done. And they're like, well, you want me to die? I mean, yeah, you're kind of a waste of space. I'm not going to hold you. You're kind of a distraction. And if your contribution is to just say, I'm the most spiritual person, but I ain't going to do no spiritual shit, then shut the fuck up. Like, if you cannot teach people things, even if you call yourself an educator or a teacher or whatever, if you can't teach people things, right, then shut the fuck up. Eat your cereal. That's my attitude in life. It's like, because I've been in this conscious space for a minute. And I tell you, a lot of distractions, a lot of people just talk shit. And it comes to a point where we have to say, look, put your money where your mouth is. Like be real, like show us what the fuck you're doing, right? Because I got my list. When I'll say this right there. When I was in the UAM, United African Movement, 20-something years old, in the United African Movement, under Alton Maddox Jr., right? First off, I ain't see these motherfuckers, right? This was the only all-black organization in Brooklyn. I ain't see these motherfuckers, right? But check this out. When I was there, Alton Maddox said he ain't gonna listen to nobody who don't have notches on their belt. You know what I mean? Like, when you don't have notches on your belt, when you are not really doing shit, then don't talk. You there? You had sex and you're shut the fuck up. Of course I had sex. I'm a fucking man with testosterone, and biceps. You know what I'm saying? Quads. Like, what the fuck? Of course I did. The fuck are you talking about? These women were like, damn, motherfucker, you looking good. Yeah. Shit. What the fuck I look like? But anyway, all I'm saying is that if, we have to tell people, look, okay, you can run your mouth. That's good. Can you run? If you cannot run, but you run in your mouth, shut the fuck up. Cause Carter G. Woodson told us, fools tell you what they want to do. No, he said young people told you what they're going to do or what they're doing. Old people tell you what they have done. And fools tell you what they want to do or they're going to do, right? And Carter G. Woodson, again, this is 1913. He's like, and the Negro race has a lot of the last class, and we still have that. People worried about how much pussy you get. Like, the fuck is wrong with you? You a grown damn man. But it is what it is.
Are we vetting tonight? Are we vetting?
I'm not upset. I'm just letting people know that I've heard this stuff before. Like, I've heard this for decades. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think the both of us going in, man. Maybe we need to dial it back and stop going on the audience. I'm gonna dial it back, man. I'm gonna let them brothers live, man. Y'all do your thing.
Nah, man. Nah, man. Look, man.
Could have gotten this all you all want, man. I don't care.
The clowns. That's all I gotta say. Like you said, if they want to sit down and be little keyboard warriors, that's fine. But like, you gotta point them out. But like, no, I'm not upset because again, I got my shit. You know what I mean? Like, I got my shit. Can't nobody say, hey, Oni, you broke. You know why? Because I spent 3 fucking months in another country with no motherfucking income. Don't know broke people do that. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like I got my shit going. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm about to go out to Africa again. But you know, so like I said, I can't be upset. You know, imagine me, I'm upset. I got women. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking like what? Somebody said that's the easy thing to do. No, that's not. Look, if you all right, go try to leave the country for 3 months. Let's see what happens to you, man. Motherfucker gonna be begging. What are you talking about?
All right. Lively discussion. If you guys want to come up on the panel, by all means come up. But let's keep it respectful and let's try to stick to the topic. I think no one else had anything to add to that Shoot the Breeze topic number 4. Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 5 tonight.